Well, I have three amazing boys, so it's fun. It's just fun being a dad.
We had three boys. We would have loved to have a girl, but there wasn't a huge hole anywhere that we were like, we've got to have a girl. It was totally the leading of God, calling us to step out in faith and say, do you want to add another child to this family? And he said yes. So we began to pray about that. If God had a baby for us somewhere, that he would protect her and that he would get us to her in his big, amazing God way.
One night, we were praying with our children before putting them to bed. We prayed about adoption, and at the end of that prayer, our middle son, Sam, said, look, are we just going to pray about adoption, or are we going to actually do something? We've taught our kids that God is a God of action, not to use prayer as a crutch, not just pray about things, but actually act when God calls you to act.
And we had talked about how we really felt like God was calling us to take a child out of an orphanage. And so that led us to the international route. Our facilitator said, this country, you're looking at, a 2 to 4 year wait for a referral. And we're like, well, we're getting older. We really don't want to wait 2 to 4 years. So we just went through each country like that. Some countries you couldn't specify boy or girl. And we knew that God was calling us to adopt a little girl. And so finally he just looked at us and said, have y'all ever thought about Russia? And I immediately, hard-hearted, was like, no, not Russia. And so we decided to pray about Russia. I felt God saying to me that our daughter was alive and that she was in a dangerous situation. And I wrote this all in my journal and have gone back and looked at it. But I just left to go pray for her and just really felt him confirming then that we were supposed to go to Russia, to follow through with that program. And so we called our agency and said, okay, we'll go to Russia.
The adoption process is not for the weak of heart by any means. I mean, it's daunting as far as all of the paperwork, even repetitive paperwork that can be frustrating. We basically got our home study, we got our dossier complete, basically all the paperwork that was necessary. And at that point, we were just simply waiting on a referral.
In July of 2012, we got a phone call that said we have a referral. We were actually on vacation. They said, we'll be sending you some pictures, so get where you can get on the internet. We were camping, so it was kind of spotty service. They said, here's who she is. She's 18 months old. And they gave us a list of medical issues, some that were pretty scary. And they said, we'll be sending you a picture in the next, hour, and you'll have 48 hours to look her stuff over and give us a yes or no response.
I think we both had certain preconceived notions on what we would feel when we saw the pictures of our potentially our new daughter. What we saw was not a beautiful little blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl or a picture of health. What we saw was a little girl with just a blank stare, dark circles under her eyes, no hair, malnourished.
I didn't get that warm, fuzzy feeling when I saw her that I expected to get. And I immediately began to shut down. I had a long, hard night, just wrestling with God, talking to him about scary things. And it was totally, after 48 hours of that, am I going to trust him? I've been talking. I want to adopt. I want to help an orphan. I want to, rescue a child. And then what God said to me that night was, at some point, your talk has got to stop and your walk has to pick up, whatever it looks like. And it just didn't look like what I thought it was going to look like, and that was scary for me. Immediately,
my reaction was the protector. I was ready to swim to Russia and get that little girl.
Decided we're gonna go forward with this. We're gonna do what we said we were gonna do. We're gonna trust God and say that this is the baby for us. So we accepted the referral and booked some plane tickets to Russia. The first day we met Ann Haven, we'd been told she would probably be afraid of men. Men do not work in the orphanages, they only see women. And so they said, you know, don't be afraid, Todd, if she doesn't look at you, want to go to you, she's afraid of you, kind of thing. So we were prepared for that. So we walk in, backpacks full of toys and things, and we obviously have seen her picture, so know who to be looking for. And she comes walking down the hall holding the orphanage worker's hand. And Todd just bent down so that he would get eye to eye level with her, so he wouldn't be so big and tall and scary looking. And she let go of the orphanage worker's hand and just toddled. She was so dainty. Toddled right over to him and put her arms around his neck and just laid her head over on his shoulder, just like, where have you been? I've been waiting on you. It was the sweetest moment ever. And of course he, you know.
Yeah, it was a puddle.
Yeah, started crying. I was crying. And but we had prayed that she would bond with us. So we had just given that to the Lord and just said, whatever we face with that, we'll face. God, we ask you to do huge things through her. We ask you to help us to bond with her and her to bond with us. And we would have just random people say to us, because we would every day go to the orphanage and just play with her all day. And they would say, this is odd that she seems like she is already knows you guys and is attached to you guys already. She did just take to us and want to sit in our laps the whole time. Just again, another confirmation that God gave us of, see what I've been doing in her. I have been preparing her for you.
I mean, obviously you can look back in life at a lot of times and you can see God's hand at work and the evidence of that in the rearview mirror. We didn't know it at the time. Basically, Ann Haven became eligible for adoption on August 13th. Little did we know that politically some issues were going to take place where the Russian government closed adoptions to Americans on January 1st. So there was a 140-day window for her to be adopted. And we ended up getting home with her basically 1 week before the border closed. Well, I think first the question of what would we have missed if we had not adopted? Boy, that just evokes an overwhelming range of emotions. Just a few weeks ago, we were standing there and she kind of walked in and she said, Mom, when I was alone, I was not really alone, God was there. And this came from the mouth of a 3.5-year-old.
And God, at times like that, tells me, this is the real reason I called you to adopt, because she now knows about me. And so there's not only a adding to your family, there's a adding to God's family. It's like a friend of mine said when I was telling her about all this. She said, so you want to just tell people, prayer really works. And you know that, but I don't know, when to watch God do that through her, it is just a true testimony of prayer. It works.
The need is great. I mean, we obviously realize that the care for orphans is not an opportunity or a problem for the government to solve. It is truly an opportunity for the church.
Does God call everybody to adopt? Absolutely not. But we believe that God calls everyone to be involved, to help, orphans. I did not realize what a picture of rescue it would be. The day we left the orphanage with her and we walked down those stairs, and it was a quick changeover. We went in, we picked up this snotty-nosed, skin-rashed, very malnourished little girl. We had to strip her down, put all new clothes on her, walked out those doors with her, down the 3 flights of stairs and out into the snow to get in a vehicle. And I looked back at that orphanage and God said to me, this is what I did for you, Marcy. This is how I rescued you. This is what you looked like to me, and you had nothing to offer me, and I had everything to offer you. And I didn't see that when God did that for me. And just like she didn't see that day we took her away from that orphanage. But it was the biggest picture of rescue. And we drove away knowing she would never go back there again. God, I'm pretty content with 4 kids. We've been rocking right along with that, thinking this is our family, and the boys just keep bringing it up. We should do this again. We should adopt again. We can help another baby. Why wouldn't we, Mom? And Todd's pretty much been in the same boat. Yeah, why wouldn't we? We could do it again. God has said, you're going to do this one more time. And our reasons are different this time, but we are still trying to walk in obedience. And so we are going to Poland. We have started the paperwork, finished our home study, should be getting a referral in the next few months. Russia, obviously, doors are closed there, but we're going to Poland to get one more little girl. And
we think one.
One more little girl. So.